Hey guys, it was good. JJJBoxing. So here's some pictures from David Benavidez' Instagram. He just posted of him doing some sparring. Looking good. For the last couple of years now, David Benavidez has really taken boxing more seriously, and it showed up in his performances. He used to be the former champion. I think it was the WBC, right? Until he lost it because he was he was missing weight, and then he had the cocaine tested positive, right? And then so pretty much he lost the belt outside the ring, not in the ring. So yeah, but for the last I would say a couple of years now, he's really made a comeback, and he still is undefeated, guys. He is 27 with 23 knockouts. So this guy, he's a powerful guy, and he does have boxing skills, but I think his best attribute is probably just his determination to break you down. And he's a big man for the weight class. I don't know how he makes the weight at 168. It's hard to believe, but he does. But yeah, guys, let me know, does Demetrius Andrade have a chance? Is he the so-called boogeyman? They call him Boo Boo. Has he been avoided? Has he been phased out of the fights for a reason because no one wants to deal with this? Or is it just that he just didn't get the big fights and they weren't scared of him or anything? And this is going to be his first big fight on the stage, and it happens to be against David Benavidez, which you can't get any tougher than that on the first. This is literally his coming out party is this fight, and it couldn't be against a worse opponent. But if you're a fighter and you have a fighter's mentality, this is what you live for. He wants the greatest challenge possible if you're a true warrior. So David Benavidez fits that bill pretty nicely. So this is going to be a make or break for him, because if he beats David Benavidez, this catapults him to the top instantly, because David Benavidez is known as the monster of the division. It used to be Triple G back in the day at 160, but now David Benavidez is kind of he's filled that role. We had Wilder filled that role for a while in heavyweight until he got beat. So there's always that guy in the division that people are afraid of, and it's not Canelo, it's this guy, David Benavidez. So can Demetrius Andrade use his boxing skill to outbox David? Because he's definitely not knocking him out. He doesn't have that kind of knockout power to do it, I don't believe. Obviously, it's just David's chin, I think, is too good as well. And the resumes, guys, I'm heavily favoring David Benavidez to win by knockout, just because I haven't seen as much Demetrius Andrade. He hasn't got as much exposure as other guys. He's kind of been more like I said, phased out. It's weird how he's been there, but he's never been pushed like the other guys. So I haven't seen as many fights as his as I've seen David. But from what I've seen and by looking at his resume, this is a huge step up for him. And because he's beaten a Jason Quigley, he's beaten Salaki, which was a good win. Who else has he beaten? Fox. Who else? A lot of these guys are good fighters, but a lot of people don't know who they are. To be honest, people only probably know Jason Quigley and Salaki. Everyone else, no one really knows them by looking at his resume. But he does have a lot of good record fighters there, good fighters, but no one really would know. The casual fan definitely wouldn't know. If you're a hardcore, you would probably know them, but even to a certain extent, you wouldn't know much about these guys. So I would say Salaki, Quigley, probably, like, those are more well-known names on his resume. The best names on his resume. But when you go to David Benavidez, we all know who he's fought. Caleb Plant beats anybody on Demetrius Andrade's resume. That's a way better name already. David Lemieux, I consider, he was a monster. I know he was already declining, and maybe he was damaged goods after the Triple G fight. Then he got outboxed by Billy Joe, but still, those names are already clearly better than than Demetrius Andrade's resume. Alexis Angulo, Anthony Durrell, Jalen Love. We all know these guys. Even casuals know these guys. And I'm not saying like the guys on Demetrius Andrade's record are bad. They're good fighters. It's just they haven't had the same exposure. We don't know these guys really. And when you go to the records, they haven't really beat anyone. So, yeah, it's like, you obviously, this is just going by on paper. On paper, David Benavidez obviously has the edge, but the eye test, I would give him the edge too. He's just a monster. But let me know what you guys think. Does Boo Boo have a shot? He is 35. He's not getting any better at this point. Or David's 26, and he's probably getting better, to be honest. So Canelo should have fought him years ago. Like, Canelo, if he fights him a year from now, he's going to, or whatever, maybe next. David's 26, so he's pretty much going into his prime. He's maybe, I wouldn't even say he's green anymore. I think he's just getting into his prime. But he's still going to get better, but I wouldn't call him a green fighter. He fights like a experienced guy in there. So Canelo is going to have his hands full. If Benavidez can win this fight, I assume that fight will get made. Or the winner of this fight, right? Maybe Boo Boo would get the Canelo fight. That would be interesting too if he won this, because we all know the famous trash talking at the end of was it the Caleb press conference? I forget what one it was. It was the post conference from one of Canelo's fights. And Demetrius Andrade showed up and he was talking shit to Canelo when he was on the podium. And Canelo's like, "You fought nobody." He's like, "You just want payday. Payday." We all know those famous lines, right? That Canelo, like, all those voice memos are from that. So there's some history there that they could build. And then obviously David Benavidez, the fight just sells itself. They're both Mexican heritage. I know David's not full Mexican, right? And he's not born in Mexico. I don't think so, right? But still, he represents Mexico. Canelo's Mexican. It's just, the styles just mesh perfectly. That will sell itself. But I think there's been some trash talk in there too on because people think they're afraid that Canelo's afraid of him. So there would be some good back and forth between him and David, I think, building up that fight. But I think as well as Demetrius Andrade as well. So either way, whoever gets that to fight Canelo will be a very good promotion. But in this video, I just want to know your guys' thoughts. Does Demetrius Andrade have a chance? Am I not seeing anything? For those of you who have followed Demetrius Andrade more closely, like I said, I'm not an expert on him. I haven't covered him as much. He never got as much exposure. He never got me excited to tune into his fights as much. Considering a lot of the opponents I don't even know, right? So I never really tuned in as much. Whereas when you look at David Benavidez, they promoted him better. And he was fighting name guys that they really sold. And I wanted to see it. So I've seen a lot of his fights. So let me know what you guys think. Am I right for saying it's going to be an easy knockout win for David Benavidez? And yeah, this is JJJBoxing. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.